Hey guys, welcome back to Analyzing Horror. My name's Lauren, and today we're going to be switching it up a bit. So at the time that I'm filming this video, spooky season has officially begun, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to spark off the season by sharing with you guys my top 10 comfort horror movies. These are horror movies that just make me feel comfy and cozy, and ones I always gravitate to when I'm having a bad day and in need of something to make me feel better. Also, quick disclaimer, this video is going to be spoiler free for all of the movies that I talk about in this list. So don't worry about getting spoiled, you're good there. Also, I wanted to let you guys know that there are a couple of movies on this list that I've already fully reviewed on my channel. So if you're interested in checking those out, I've linked them down below for you. Also, when we get to them on the list, I'll make sure to remind you guys. But yeah, if you're interested in extra content, the full reviews are available down below. Lastly, if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you'll probably notice that this is a more laid-back style of video. It's a little bit less scripted than my full analysis movie reviews. So if you guys end up liking this laid-back style of video, make sure to let me know in the comments and I'll continue to pepper those in on my channel in the future. All right, with all the disclaimers out of the way, let's jump right in. This is gonna be a ranking list, so we're gonna start off at number 10 and work our way down to 1. Also, if you guys feel like you know what number 1 is, leave it in the comments. I feel like those of you who follow me on Twitter probably already know. Okay, so starting off at number 10, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil from 2010. So two hillbillies are suspected of being killers by a group of paranoid college kids camping near the duo's West Virginia cabin. As the body count climbs, so does the fear and confusion as the college kids try to seek revenge against the pair. So I love this movie so much. It's one of my favorite comedy horror movies. One of the reasons why I love it so much is that it turns around the psycho in the woods trope on its heels. And instead of the psychos in the woods being the bad guys, they're actually just two hillbillies innocently try to renovate their new cabin. And the entire movie is chaotic hilarity, where the hillbillies are trying to understand why all these college kids are killing themselves around their cabin. Meanwhile, the college kids think that these psychos are trying to kill them. So like I said, it's just really chaotic, but absolutely hilarious. And I just love the cast. Alan Tudyk is so funny as Tucker. He's easily my favorite character. I think he's such a great actor, by the way. I know this is kind of out of nowhere, but outside of this performance, my second favorite performance of his is King Candy from Wreck-It Ralph. Like, I'm sure he's great in everything, but that's just one of my favorite roles of his, because I did not expect him to be that character. And then I remember being on IMDb and discovering that. I was just like, oh my God, that's hilarious. He sounds nothing like him. And I just think he's a very diverse actor. And I really love when actors can like play all different kinds of roles. And I don't know, like he's just really great. I love him. Also, Tyler Labine as Dale is also really, really funny. And him and Tyler are the perfect duo for this movie. And if you guys haven't seen this for yourself, you absolutely need to check it out because there is some fantastic humor in this movie. It's just so funny. And the way that the confusion between the two groups works amongst the humor and the storyline is just done so well. There are some kills that are just absolutely hilarious. And again, Tucker and Dale are just so funny as they're so confused why these college kids are doing this around their cabin. They're just trying to renovate it. They don't understand what's going on. Whereas the college kids think that they're psychos, and just the confusion is absolutely hilarious. And it's a fantastic movie. I highly recommend it. Definitely check it out if you haven't watched it yet. All right, on to number 9. Insidious from 2010 as well. The family discovers that dark spirits have invaded their home after their son inexplicably falls into an endless coma. When they reach out for professional help, they learn things are a lot more personal than they thought. I keep wanting to start these off with, I love this movie so much, but they're all in my comfort horror movies list, so I have a feeling that you guys know that I love these movies very much. But regardless, it's absolutely true. I love this movie for so many reasons. One being that it's a James Wan movie, and I love James Wan so much. I just think he's a really great horror creator and director. I just really love his vision. I love the way that he approaches jump scares and how they are genuinely frightening and not like the empty jump scares where it's like a cat jumping onto the car windshield or something like that. Like all of the scares are genuinely frightening, and they're not all just straight up jump scares. They're just like, some are very unsettling and some just like linger and make you feel incredibly uncomfortable and creeped out. And I just really love that about the way that he approaches horror. Also the performances, like Patrick Wilson is so great as Josh. Like I love Patrick Wilson in anything, but he's genuinely good in this movie. Also Insidious 2, if you haven't seen that one, you should totally check that out because that's also a really great movie. I feel like Patrick gets to play a more challenging role in the sequel, so I think it's absolutely worth checking out if for some reason you haven't checked it out yet. I also really loved Rose Byrne as Renee in this movie. I think that she's a really great actress and she's also quite diverse. Like I first saw her in the movie Bridesmaids, and now she's doing horror as well as comedy with Seth Rogen and The Neighbors, and I just think that she's really great. And again, I just really love diversity in actors whenever they can play multiple different roles. I also really love the ghost-busting trio that they hire for help towards the middle of the movie. Elise, Tucker, and Specs. I absolutely love Elise. I think she's the sweetest character. And the two guys that tag along on their ghost-busting adventures are so funny. And I love their banter, and like they're just a really great comic relief for this movie. I also really love the storyline and the overall plot. And in case you guys haven't seen it, I won't delve too far into it. But I just found this very interesting, and it's not your typical like ghost story, and there's a lot more layers to it, and it's just really, really good. And again, the sequel is like almost immediate, it is immediately right after the end of this movie. So they're almost like one long movie if you put them back to back. So I highly recommend this and its sequel if you haven't seen it yet. All right, next, number 8. The Conjuring from 2013. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren work to help a family terrorized by a dark presence in their farm home. Forced to confront a powerful entity, the Warrens find themselves caught in the most terrifying case of their lives. So this is another James Wan movie, and like I just said in Insidious, he's one of my favorite creators and directors, and again, he just knows how to approach horror. And just like in Insidious, he knows how to give you a genuinely scary jump scare, as well as some unsettling, foreboding, building of tension scenes that just really get under your skin, and it's just done so, so well. Also, another huge reason why I love this movie so much is Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as Ed and Lorraine Warren. My God, are those two incredible. Their chemistry is fantastic, and they are just so, so charismatic and kind and just brave in moments too. And I love those two so much as a couple and just individual as characters. Like, I know they're based off actual people, so I'm talking specifically about these characters in the movie, but I think you know what I'm getting at. I love Vera Farmiga so much. And I've already expressed that I love Patrick Wilson. And like putting them together in a horror movie directed by James Wan, like that's just like my calling card. Like literally this movie is everything to me. And it's funny because I think both Conjuring and Insidious are genuinely scary movies, but for some reason they're just so comfy to me. Like I throw them on when I clean the house. Like I just love having them on. And in addition to Ed and Lorraine, I just really love the Perrin family, the family that they end up helping in the movie. And I just really feel for them throughout the film and all of the scary things that happen to them. Like I would be terrified to live in that house. So like you feel for the Perrin family, you're rooting for Ed and Lorraine. There are a ton of scary moments, and there's also some humor peppered in there. Like it's just such a great movie. And like I said earlier, Vera, Patrick, James Wan, a horror movie, like this movie is so fantastic. Oh, and this is also another one that has a fantastic sequel. So if you're interested in doing double features, definitely check this one out and Conjuring 2. All right, on to number 7. Van Helsing from 2004. So famed monster slayer Gabriel Van Helsing is dispatched to Transylvania to assist the last of the Valerian bloodline in defeating Count Dracula. Anna Valerius reveals that Dracula has formed an unholy alliance with Dr. Frankenstein's monster and is hell-bent on exacting a centuries-old curse on her family. So this is actually a very special movie to me. I remember seeing this with my dad in theaters when I was about 13 or 14, and I just loved having that experience with him. I'll never forget, he was really angry that the actor that played Dracula mispronounced Dracula. He said Dragulia instead of Dracula, and my dad was like, why didn't he say Dracula? That's so annoying. But as you do with people that you watch movies with, we had a bunch of inside jokes between us because of the movie, and we just kept revisiting it. And I'll always think of my dad when I think of Van Helsing, and it's just a really special memory. But in addition to that, I think this movie is just so fantastic all around. Like Hugh Jackman as Van Helsing is so great. I think this is one of his roles before Wolverine that was kind of like action-packed, so that was really cool to see. And Kate Beckinsale as Anna is really great as well. Like her costume design is fantastic. Also, David Wenham as Carl and his duo with Van Helsing is so funny. Like their banter and camaraderie is hilarious. And Carl as a character is just, outside of Van Helsing, obviously, like he's my favorite character. I just love him so much. He is hilarious. So one of my favorite scenes of his is when Van Helsing just finished fighting a werewolf who was out in the rain, so he was wet, and Carl comes in, starts sniffing the air, and was just like, why does it smell like wet dog in here? Also, in addition to the overall plot line where Van Helsing is traveling to Transylvania, I absolutely love all of the classic monsters that are in this movie. You got Dracula, you got werewolves, you've got Frankenstein's monster, and Van Helsing is the monster fighter. Like, it's just so cool. Like, Dracula looks fantastic and his three brides look exceptional. I loved Frankenstein. He was so incredibly dramatic and he's so funny. And the werewolves, like, they looked really good. Like, they're CGI, granted, but for CGI, I thought they looked really great, especially for the time frame. So as a whole, I know part of it is nostalgia for me, but this is a really great movie. And if you've seen it a long time ago and you haven't seen it in a good while, this is your sign. Make sure to go watch it again because it's so good. It'll make you laugh. It's action-packed. It's got classic monsters. Like, it's just a really great time. I really, really enjoy it, and you should totally check it out if you haven't seen it yet. All right, coming in at number 6, Shaun of the Dead, or rather the entire Cornetto series. These came out in 2004, 2007, and 2013. So Shaun of the Dead is one of those movies that I've done a full movie review on, so check that out in the description below if you're interested. But I haven't done the full Cornetto series yet because they kind of aren't horror movies, but they kind of are. But it's one of my favorite trios of all time. I just absolutely love it for so many reasons. But a huge, huge reason is Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Edgar Wright directing. Like, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, their friendship both on and on screen literally melts my heart. I just love how close they are. And the two of them plus Edgar Wright, like, all three of them are good friends. And I just really, really love how their friendship seems to come through in all of the work that they do together. And there's just something about male friendships for me, especially in movies, that I just love so much. And this movie, well, Shaun of the Dead specifically, does it exceptionally well. But Hot Fuzz and World's End are also so great. They're all three so funny, but they have some action scenes and there's suspense and mystery, and it's just a fantastic time. All three of these movies are so fantastic. I also really love how there are so many actors that seem to come back for Edgar Wright roles, such as Bill Nye, Martin Freeman, and Rafe Spall. And I just really love getting to see familiar faces in all of Edgar Wright's movies, especially from what I know about him. He just seems like a really genuine, kind, talented person. And I just really love how he approaches all of his works in all different styles. Like, he does these like quick pan and zoom in shots, and his soundtracks are absolutely incredible. And the Cornetto series is absolutely worth your time. You should totally check these out if you haven't seen them yet. Which smoothly leads me into number 5. The Ritual from 2017. So a group of college friends reunite for a trip to the forest, but encounter a menacing presence in the woods that's stalking them. So I didn't mention this earlier, but Rafe Spall, who is one of the revisiting actors in the Cornetto series, is one of my favorite actors ever, and he stars in this movie. I don't know if you guys have comfort actors, but he's definitely one for me. Like, I just really love seeing him on screen, and his smile and his laugh, like, there's just something about him that just is very comforting to me. And I love that we got a horror movie with him starring in it. Also, the premise is genuinely terrifying. Not only that opening scene, I'm not gonna give anything away, but there's an opening scene that it's incredibly horrifying, and it's not even involved in the woods. And then they get to the woods, and then there's a whole different type of terror that's stalking them. And this movie has a creature design that is so cool. It's one of my favorite creature designs in all of modern horror movies. And it's actually kind of hard to talk about this movie without giving anything away, so I'll just say that the woods are very atmospheric, but very suspenseful. There are some genuinely terrifying moments in this movie. The creature design is incredible, and the performances all around are very great. I highly recommend this. It's currently streaming on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, but you can obviously also buy it on DVD if you want to. I got this on Amazon. But if you have a Netflix subscription, you should totally check this out. It's right there for you, Netflix original. It's never going away, so you should definitely check it out. All right, next, coming in at number 4. Zombieland from 2009. So in a world overrun by zombies, Columbus, who has a habit of running away from everything that scares him, and Tallahassee, who has no fears. These two are perfectly evolved to survive the zombie apocalypse. But now they're about to stare down the most terrifying prospect of all, other humans. So this is absolutely my go-to when it comes to feeling down, just wanting something to make me laugh, but also has horror in it. I absolutely love this movie so much. The humor is so fantastic. I absolutely love all of the characters and performances, and Woody Harrelson as Tallahassee is one of my favorite characters of all time. He is just so hilarious, and he has some incredible one-liners, and there's this long-running gag where he's constantly searching for a Twinkie, and he can't find one, and it makes him so angry because all he wants in life right now is to have a Twinkie so he can remember what it tastes like. And he's just so angry, and there's something about a character that's always angry that's really funny to me. Also, Jesse Eisenberg as Columbus is really great. Also, Emma Stone as Wichita, as well as Abigail Breslin as Little Rock as sisters. They were really great. I loved their dynamic. And just the four of them, when they all four teamed up towards the middle of the movie, I just really loved their camaraderie. But there's also a lot of really great banter, and there's just a lot of humor in this movie. There's tons of really great zombie scenes, plenty of gore, and the kills were really great too. And I love everything about this movie. It also wraps up really well. There is a sequel, but I personally love this one so much more than the sequel. Sequel's worth checking out, but you know what I mean, like, classic's a classic. It's funny, it's got zombies, it's also heartwarming at times, and I just highly, highly recommend this movie, especially if you're in a bad mood and you're just wanting to laugh. All right, we're down to the final three, and number 3 is Last Night in Soho from 2021. So a young girl named Eloise, passionate about fashion design, is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s, where she encounters her idol, a dazzling wannabe singer named Sandy. But 1960s London is not what it seems, and time seems to be falling apart for Eloise, with shady consequences. So this is another movie that I've done a full review for on my channel already, so again, that's in the description box if you're interested. So despite this movie only coming out last year, this movie has become one of my favorite movies of all time. I cannot fault it. It is one of the best movies I've ever seen in every single way possible. The performances, the soundtrack, the costume and set design, the storyline, all of the colors and the neon lights, like, this movie is absolutely breathtaking. Like, I literally get goosebumps every single time I watch this movie. The soundtrack just hits right, you know? Also, all of the performances, Anya Taylor-Joy as Sandy, Matt Smith as Jack, Thomasin McKenzie as Ellie or Eloise. Also the late Dame Diana Rigg as Mrs. Collins. Also Terrence Stamp as the mystery man. And I already said this, but I just can't fault it. It's absolutely perfect. I love the costume and set designs, the colors, the soundtrack. Edgar Wright is the director. Anya Taylor-Joy is one of my favorite actresses of all time too, by the way. So like, she was absolutely incredible, and I can't fault this movie. It's absolutely perfect. All right, we're down to the final 2, and number 2 is Black Swan from 2010. So this movie takes you on a journey through the psyche of a young ballerina whose starring role as the duplicitous Swan Queen turns out to be a part for which she becomes frighteningly perfect. So this is another movie that's really, really special to me. I remember seeing it in theaters by myself for the first time, was absolutely blown away, and I think I went and saw it by myself again like 5 more times after that. Like, the score and soundtrack as a whole is so gorgeous and mesmerizing, and also the performances are incredible. Like, Natalie Portman as Nina blew it away. She was astounding and so captivating in every scene that she was in. Even when she was saying absolutely nothing, her nonverbal acting is incredible in this movie. Also, Mila Kunis was really great as well. We need to see her in more thriller and horror movies, by the way. In fact, we need to see both Mila and Natalie in more horror movies. I also really loved Vincent Cassel as Thomas, the Black Swan director. I really loved his chemistry with Natalie Portman, and his character and Nina have a lot of scenes together, so I thought that worked really well. And speaking of those scenes, a lot of costume designs are absolutely incredible in this movie, especially when it's surrounding the Black Swan performance. Like, the costumes that Nina has to wear to be both the Black Swan and the White Swan are absolutely gorgeous, as well as all of the ballerina costumes. And lastly, one of the things that I love about this movie is that I can strongly relate to Nina's maternal relationship with her mother. Her mom somewhat suppresses and suffocates her. Like, they live together, so they're constantly around each other. Nina doesn't really feel like she gets to grow up. So in a way, I can relate to that very strongly. I have a complicated relationship with my mom as well, so their relationship I just really resonate with. Also, there's something about watching a character's downward spiral that I just find absolutely fascinating. So all of that wrapped up into one movie really makes this one of the most special movies for me. Also, I feel like some of you might be saying, oh, that's more of a thriller, a psychological thriller rather than a horror movie. And you could say that, but I personally think that when you're losing your mind and so obsessed over something something that you lose yourself, that's quite horrifying as well. Plus, I mean, you know, like there's some gore and some body horror as well. So I personally think it counts. So yeah, if you haven't seen this movie yet and you're interested in like psychological thriller horror type movies with some gore and body horror, I think that you should absolutely check this out. All right, and we're down to number 1. And if you've been following me on Twitter for a little bit, you probably already know what this is. Crimson Peak from 2015. So in the aftermath of a family tragedy, an aspiring author, Edith, is torn between love for her childhood friend and the temptation of a mysterious outsider. Trying to escape the ghosts of her past, she is swept away to a house that breathes, bleeds, and remembers. This is also another movie I've done a full review on my channel already. So again, check out that description box if you're interested in checking that out. A lot of you guys could have probably already guessed this one, but this is one of my favorite movies of all time, and obviously one of my favorite comfort horror movies. I just love every single thing about it. Like the costume design, the set designs, the soundtrack and the score, Guillermo del Toro directing, and the performances. Like Mia Wasikowska is so great as Edith. Tom Hiddleston as Thomas is really great. And Jessica Chastain as Lucille is so great. She is so menacing and just cold. And I love her character so much. And Burn Gorman plays a detective in this movie. And he's one of my favorite, rather underrated actors. Like I just really love him. So it's really great getting to see him in one of my favorite movies. Also, I really love the overall plot and storyline. I really love how this movie combines a ghost story and a gothic romance. In addition, the ghosts look so creepy, and I love the use of color in this movie as well. Like certain ghosts are black and certain ghosts are red for reasons that you'll find out when you watch the movie, but it's really cool, and I just really love how much symbolism is in the use of color in this movie. And you can also see that in the costume design as well as the set designs as well. And in addition, there are some genuinely good scary moments in this movie. I wouldn't say it's as scary as some other movies. Like again, it is a scary movie combined with a gothic romance. So there's more than just horror going on in this movie. But there are some really unsettling moments. And then there are even more unsettling moments later on in the movie for very different reasons. But it's such a great movie, and I honestly could talk all day about this movie and more. So I'll just say again how much I loved the performances. Guillermo del Toro's vision was incredible. I love the look of the ghost and the use of color throughout this movie. I really loved the set design and the overall plot. And it's just that go-to movie for me whenever I'm really in a crappy mood and I just want to feel something, you know? And I know this movie may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I highly recommend that you check it out. Even if you watch it and it's not your thing, that's totally cool. I still think that it's worth checking out, if not to just appreciate the set design, the costume design, the use of color, the score. Like, it's really a beautiful movie. And even if you don't want to call it horror, you could just say it's a great movie, or, you know, whatever. You make up your own mind. I don't control you, but I at least think it's worth checking out once. All right, those are my top 10 comfort horror movies. They just bring me so much comfort. And I also really love that they have different horror elements amongst them. And they all have a way of making me feel better in their own way. And I just love them so much. And they all have a special place in my horror loving heart. So what's your favorite movie out of this list? Also, what's your top 10 comfort horror movies? Let me know in the comments. Also, this is just a reminder that I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. So if you're interested in following me on those and you haven't already, the links are in my description box below. And as always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so Black Phillip knows you'd like to live deliciously. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you again very soon in the next video. Bye!